Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking on a topic that's getting a lot of buzz online. Understanding how to set what some people are calling high-value dating standards. And maybe even experiencing what's known as princess treatment in dating.
Right. And our source for this is a YouTube video transcript, so it's one particular perspective on this whole thing.
Definitely. And look, this is a conversation that it might spark some thoughts, maybe even some disagreement.
Yeah, you might find these ideas interesting or maybe a bit unconventional.
Exactly. But our goal here, it isn't really to endorse it, but more to just unpack the ideas.
Right, to understand the concepts being discussed in this source material.
So our mission for this deep dive, we want to explore these ideas around dating standards. Like, what does this source call the bare minimum?
And how you might think about, shifting your own perspective on what you expect, what you deserve in relationships, all based on what's in this video.
We'll definitely touch on the practical steps and mindset shifts suggested.
Yeah, the ones the video creator talks about for anyone kind of thinking about reevaluating things.
Okay, so let's get into it. The creator starts by talking about her own experience, right? Idolizing the bare minimum.
Yeah, she says she was idolizing the bare minimum, and it sounds like it negatively impacted her dating life quite a bit.
How so? What did that look like?
Well, she describes being overly thankful for really basic gestures, things that, maybe shouldn't be seen as extraordinary. And this led to her feeling, undervalued. She mentions settling, feeling upset after disagreements, even insecure because of how she was treated.
So wanting more but accepting less.
Pretty much a recurring theme, it seems.
That really sets the stage. And then she brings in this analogy, Lola and Athena.
Ah, yes. The Lola versus Athena thing. It's a way to illustrate the point about different standards.
Okay, break that down for us.
So imagine Lola. Her starting point for expectations in dating is, let's say, really low, like a 15 out of 100 on some imaginary scale.
Okay.
So when someone shows up and does just a little bit more, maybe bumps it up to a 20, Lola is absolutely thrilled.
Wow, okay. She thinks she's hit the jackpot.
Exactly. Because, the video argues, she hasn't really defined what real value looks like to her.
Yeah.
So minimal effort seems amazing.
Right. She's happy with what should maybe just be the entry fee, essentially.
You could put it that way. And then there's Athena.
The opposite approach.
Precisely. Athena's done the self-reflection, knows her worth, and her standards start way higher, maybe at 100.
So she expects more from the get-go.
Yeah. For Athena, a partner needs to bring significant positive value to her life. She sees a partner as an addition to an already good life, not someone to, complete her.
Okay, so the core idea is that setting higher standards proactively is really crucial. Why does the video stress this for long-lasting relationships?
The argument is basically about alignment. Clear standards mean you're more likely to find someone whose fundamental values and, future expectations match yours.
So it avoids mismatches later on.
That's the idea. Having that solid understanding of what matters to you means you're less likely to end up in relationships that just aren't going anywhere or aren't aligned with what you truly want.
Less heartbreak, potentially.
The video suggests that, that being selective up front based on your actual needs and values can save you pain later.
Makes sense. Now, the video has this sort of test, right, to see if you're idolizing the bare minimum.
It lists examples of things it argues are actually just the basics, the fundamentals.
What kind of things are on that list?
Okay, things like opening doors for you, being polite to waiters or service staff.
Basic respect stuff.
Yeah, basic communication skills like listening, responding thoughtfully, replying to texts, within a reasonable time,
Right.
Taking initiative to actually make plans, general good manners,
Yeah.
just being kind, good morning texts, the sidewalk rule, walking closest to the street.
Oh, right.
And being present, being patient, not getting overly reactive or letting fights drag on.
And the video's take is,
Yep.
if you're super impressed by these.
Then it might be a sign you're settling, that your bare minimum might be set too low.
Gotcha. Then the video says something interesting. The bare minimum is whatever you want it to be. What's the thinking there?
It's about personalization, really. The idea is if you consciously decide your bare minimum includes, say, more thoughtfulness, more consistent effort.
You're more likely to attract that.
Exactly. You shift your mindset from being surprised by basic decency to actually expecting a certain level of consideration as just normal, the baseline.
Okay, so back to Lola and Athena. How does this play out with something like, say, getting flowers?
Right. So for Lola, getting flowers might feel huge. Like, wow, this is amazing, so special.
An extraordinary event.
Yeah. But for Athena, she'd appreciate it. Sure, it's thoughtful. But it aligns with her general expectation of being treated well.
So it's nice, but not, like, earth-shattering.
Exactly. It's seen as a normal, kind gesture within a context where she expects consistent effort and consideration anyway.
This ties into the creator's own story, her shift in standards. What does her new list of expectations look like?
It sounds like a pretty major shift. She went from tolerating less to expecting to be consistently wined and dined.
Meaning thoughtful dates.
Yeah, dates showing real effort to connect. She also started prioritizing emotional maturity, reliable support, chivalry, she mentions opening car doors, the passenger princess life thing.
Okay.
And being properly integrated into his world, his life.
Okay.
Plus things like intelligence, ambition, financial stability.
Wow, quite a list.
Shared values and future goals were big too. A focus on self-development, supporting her creative stuff, and just healthy communication.
That's comprehensive. Definitely a significant raising of the bar.
For sure. It shows a clear decision to expect more across the board.
So if someone listening is thinking, okay, I like this idea, raising standards, but where do I start? How do I figure out my high standards? What's the advice?
The first big recommendation is analyzing past relationships, if you have them.
Like making lists.
Yeah, she literally mentions making lists for her exes. Pros, cons, why it ended, how long it lasted. Comparing them helped her see patterns.
Patterns and unmet needs, I guess.
Exactly. What kept going wrong, what was missing.
Okay, that makes sense. Using the past to learn. But what if you don't have much dating history?
Good question. For people without that experience, the video suggests a series of, self-reflection questions.
Such as?
Taking a love language quiz is one, to figure out your emotional needs. Identifying shared interests you really want for quality time. Defining what actually makes you feel loved. Gifts, service, words, time, touch, and the specific behaviors tied to that.
So getting really clear on your own needs first.
Mm-hmm. And it goes deeper. Thinking about your dream romantic gestures. How you want a partner to support you when you're down.
How you handle conflict.
Yeah, preferred communication styles during arguments. Imagining weekends together, lifestyle alignment, personality traits, values you admire, how they treat other people.
It sounds like building a detailed picture of what you actually want and need.
Totally. And also considering their future outlook, growth, travel, ambitions, and if that aligns with yours. It's very holistic.
Now, the inevitable question.
Yeah.
Can standards be too high? Does the video address that?
It does. It makes a distinction between core values and more superficial standards.
Okay, explain that.
Core values, the absolute must-haves for your fulfillment, your well-being. The video says these should be non-negotiable. Like, if getting flowers weekly is genuinely super important to you feeling valued, that could be a core need. Don't compromise on those.
And the superficial stuff.
Things like maybe specific height requirements, hair color, that kind of thing. The video suggests being more flexible there.
Why?
Because being too rigid on non-essentials might mean you overlook someone amazing who actually ticks all your important boxes, your core values. It hints at self-sabotage, getting stuck on a superficial checklist or repeating old negative patterns.
Right. Don't let the small stuff block something potentially great. The video also mentions a 2-date rule.
Yeah, the idea there is basically giving people a fair shot beyond just that first impression.
Because first dates can be awkward.
Exactly. Nerves, trying too hard, whatever. Someone might not show their true self right away, so committing to a second date gives more space for a real connection to maybe emerge.
Or even just a call if texting feels flat.
Right. Suggests moving beyond just text to see if there's more there before writing someone off too quickly.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. The term high-value men. The video uses it, but acknowledges it can be tricky. How does it define it?
It makes a point of saying it's not meant to be derogatory. In this context, high-value men are described as guys who, aim to give that princess treatment.
So dating with intention, valuing your time.
Basically, yeah. Respecting your time, your energy. The contrast drawn is with low-value men who are painted as maybe dating more to take than to give, offering less effort or support.
Got it. And how does the video suggest attracting these high-value partners and communicating your standards effectively, especially early on?
The initial advice is pretty subtle. It emphasizes observing behavior much more than, giving someone a list of rules on date 1.
Watch what they do, not just what they say.
Exactly. It uses the example of a first date location. If someone expects you to travel super far without offering to meet halfway,
That's a sign.
It's presented as an early indicator of their consideration levels. You're watching for effort and thoughtfulness in their actions.
Okay, observation first. But what about later when things get a bit more serious? How do you communicate standards then?
Once there's a real connection, maybe a few weeks in, the video suggests communicating with vulnerability. Open, honest conversations.
Oh, the important stuff.
Yeah, things like maybe your timeline for physical intimacy or what you're looking for in terms of seriousness. But the key is framing it as finding common ground.
Not making demands.
Right. It's about ensuring you're both aligned, understanding each other's expectations. More of a mutual discovery than an ultimatum.
And once you're in a relationship, how do you maintain those standards?
The main advice there is positive reinforcement.
Praising the good stuff.
Instead of nagging or criticizing when standards aren't met, focus on genuinely praising and showing appreciation when they are. The idea is that positive feedback works better long-term.
Interesting approach. Focus on reinforcing what you want to see more of.
Yeah, encouraging the desired behaviors.
Okay, the video also busts some mindset myths that stop people from having higher standards. First one, lowering standards prevents loneliness.
Right. The video really challenges that idea. First, it questions if being alone is automatically negative.
Good point.
And it highlights that fulfillment, love, support, all that good stuff doesn't only come from romance. You can find it with family, friends, community, hobbies.
So don't settle just to avoid being single.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Focus on your own growth, do things you enjoy solo, nurture your platonic connections. The creator even talks about her self-love year focusing inward and how that actually attracted a better partner later.
Choose yourself first.
Exactly. Even within a relationship, that self-focus matters.
What about the pressure to just settle down and be realistic? Lots of people hear that.
Oh, yeah. The video strongly advises not listening to that pressure. It suggests people telling you to lower your standards might just be projecting their own limitations or maybe regrets.
People who advocate settling might not have the kind of relationship the video describes anyway.
That's the implication. The creator mentions getting comments like, "You'll end up alone." But her experience proves otherwise, for her at least. Stay true to your own desires.
Okay. Another myth. I'm not attractive enough to have high standards.
The video pushes back hard on that. It argues self-perception is key. Confidence is attractive, period.
Regardless of conventional standards.
Yeah, and it notes that beauty standards are shifting anyway, becoming more diverse. Embrace what makes you unique.
And self-love practices help here.
Definitely. Things like buying yourself flowers, taking yourself on dates, and they signal your own worth. To yourself, first and foremost. It raises your internal standard.
Powerful idea. Okay, last myth. Situationships. The video doesn't sound like a fan.
Not at all. It takes a very negative view. Calls them basically tolerating less than basic loyalty and commitment.
Why?
It suggests they often come from prioritizing male attention over your own long-term well-being and the need for clarity. Like, you're giving relationship-level effort without relationship-level security or definition.
So it advocates for clear intentions, no ambiguity.
Very much so. Avoid investing heavily where there's no clear commitment.
Okay. Finally, the video gives some homework for self-improvement. What are the key takeaways there?
A few things. One, figure out your attachment style online quizzes, the book Attached, maybe therapy to heal insecure patterns.
Understanding your own relationship programming.
Exactly. Two, learn about real love. It suggests reading All About Love by Bell Hooks or looking up her 7 components of love online. Elevate your understanding.
Right.
3, actively start a self-love journey. The creator points to her TikTok for ideas and specifically says, take yourself on a solo date this week.
Actionable advice.
And lastly, learn about masculine and feminine energy dynamics. The idea is this helps understand receiving mode, elevate standards, and recognize healthy masculine traits.
Lots of avenues for self-growth there.
Definitely focused on self-awareness and improvement.
So to wrap this up, our deep dive into this particular perspective really emphasized defining your standards beyond that perceived bare minimum.
We looked at ways to identify those standards, how to navigate dating with them, and crucially, the role of self-worth and mindset in all of this.
Yeah, and it's so important to remember, like we said, this is one viewpoint from the source we examined.
Absolutely. We really encourage you, the listener, to mull these ideas over. See what resonates with your values, your experiences, your own journey.
For sure. And on that note, maybe a final thought for you to ponder.
Ooh, okay.
After hearing all this, what's maybe one bare minimum, just one thing you might reconsider in your own life? Could be romantic, could be something else entirely.
Interesting question.
Yeah, just think about where you might be settling, perhaps without realizing it, and what a higher standard might actually look like for you.
Food for thought. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Yes, thank you. We hope these insights gave you something valuable to think about on your own path.